What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today. As you can tell, no, I'm not at home, not in my office, not in the air conditioning. I am out here in the middle of the African Serengeti, aka Phoenix, Arizona, visiting some family. So you know what? The grind don't stop. I got a way to bring my stuff with me, and I still want to talk some football. So you know what? That's what we're going to do here today. And I've barely been paying attention to the comments. We try to answer as many comments on every video that we possibly can, especially in the offseason when it's a little bit slower. And there's two of the biggest names in fantasy football that we've seen a lot of things on here lately. So I wanted to make sure that I made a video and told y'all just to relax a little bit. Relax. It's April. There's a lot can happen here in the next few months, but these names are not a couple names that you should really be worried about. If anything, they should be some names you may be wanting to target here in 2021 fantasy football. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time. Do me a favor, hit that like button, because the first name we're talking about is going to be none other than Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants. I mean, what? Dude struggles for like 2 games to start the 2020 season, gets injured, misses the remainder of the time, and now I got people out there saying, dude, Saquon's a bust, bro. What? I mean, come on. Are we serious? We need to relax. Relax a little bit with Saquon Barkley. I mean, do we want to hold 2020 against him that much? Do you remember 2020? It absolutely blew, right? I mean, we had no offseason program, no training camps, no preseason games, first action of the year. He struggled out of the gates and then gets injured, and everybody wants to just write him off or forget about him and say, I ain't touching him in 2021. Don't forget, he's arguably one of the best athletic running back in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying he is, right? We got Christian McCaffrey's and Dalvin Cook's and Derrick Henry. There's a lot of options. I get it, but he's in that argument. But injuries suck, right? In fantasy football, we hate to see them, but take advantage of them when you can. A lot of people are going to be off the hype train of Saquon Barkley because of last year. He's no longer in the conversation to be the #1 overall pick. And that's great for you because in some leagues, it will not surprise me if he falls to the late first round. That is great value, and that is a risk that I'm willing to take. Why? Here are my top 5 reasons why I'm still buying in on Saquon Barkley here in 2021. Number 1, the Giants now have a lot of weapons on the outside, right? They've added Kenny Golladay. We know they have Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard. They added John Ross. Evan Ingram's in the mix. Kyle Rudolph. I mean, there are options aplenty in the passing game. So what does that mean? Opposing defenses can no longer stack the boxes against Saquon Barkley. He's seen those stacked boxes for a long time. If Daniel Jones can really take a step forward, that's going to open up this offense, and now there's weapons they really have to account for out there in the passing game. You can tell there are gale force winds all of a sudden blowing up here around me, but you know what? We're going to continue to roll with it. That's part of recording outside. But number 2, I just mentioned it. It's Daniel Jones, right? Can he take that step forward in his second year? I really believe that he can, right? With the amount of weapons in the second year of a Joe Judge run offense, this is going to be an offense that's going to surprise a lot of people. They were hit and miss last year, but Daniel Jones wasn't healthy the entire year either. I do like them moving forward. Do I want to put a lot of stock in Daniel Jones? That's another show we'll talk about later. Number 3, their defense is overall very improved. Very improved defense, and it wouldn't surprise me if they went defense early in the NFL draft. That's something we'll talk about here in a second. But what does the defense have to do with Saquon Barkley? Well, if the defense is playing well and they're keeping these scores close or they're holding leads late, that means we get more garbage points from Saquon Barkley. Not something we've gotten a whole lot of in his career. But if we can keep these games close, more touches going the way of Saquon Barkley. Now, the next pick, it's the 11th overall pick, right? They're going to get a great option here in the NFL draft. And yes, a lot of people think they should continue to stay on the defensive side of the football. Me, personally, I take that number 11 pick and I focus on offensive line. I mean, we got Slater, we got Sewell, we got options there at the tackle position to really help solidify it, give Daniel Jones a little bit more time in the pocket, and open up some more holes for Saquon Barkley. Offensive line at the 11th overall pick, that's where I would go. Last reason why I'm still buying into him, proven production, right? There's a lot of times we see players that, oh, I know they can do it. This is the year they break out. This is their year. This is their year. We've already seen it with Barkley. He doesn't have to prove it to us. We know it's in there already. We don't have to have speculations of what his possible production could be. A 2,000-yard combined total yard season, not out of the question for Saquon Barkley. We don't have to take guesses, and that's the biggest thing. Is a lot of people want to overanalyze things and say, oh, I can see this happening. Well, we've seen it already, and for me, in my opinion, that is leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of other players that we'll talk about in fantasy football here this year. So Saquon Barkley, not somebody who I'm overly worried on. Do I want to reach for him in the first round? No, I don't want to reach, because remember, we want that great price tag, and if you can get a mid to late first, sign me up. I'm all in on it here once again. The next guy a lot of people want to continue to talk about, what about Zeke Elliott? There may be more Zeke haters than I have ever seen in my entire life. I mean, there's so much Zeke hate out there. The dude had one of his worst years of his career. One of the worst since he entered the NFL. Still had 1,300 total yards and 8 touchdowns and finished as running back 11 in an absolute dumpster fire that was Dallas last year. I mean, then you have the Tony Pollard truthers out there. Okay, I don't hate Tony Pollard. I really don't. But I don't think that he's going to eat into enough volume to make Ezekiel Elliott not fantasy football, viable anymore. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, was he disappointing in 2020? Sure, he was. But do you understand why he was disappointing in 2020? I mean, he lost arguably the NFL MVP at the quarterback position in Dak Prescott when he went down. That makes a difference because now opposing defenses don't have to worry about Dak Prescott picking them apart. They were worried about Ben DiNucci, Garrett Gilbert for a while. Andy Dalton looked like he'd never played football at one point in Dallas. It was bad. They could just stack the boxes and take away the running game. What about his offensive line? Do you realize that at times throughout the year, he had lost 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen? I mean, you had Tyron Smith miss 14 games. Zach Martin missed 6 games. Lyle Collins, we didn't even see him. We all. There's injuries all over the place, and Dallas didn't have the depth at offensive line to make up the difference for losing that much talent up front. We added in that bad quarterback play. The cards were stacked against Zeke all year long. He didn't have those opportunities for that scoring production that we'd seen him had in years past. You got to think about those things when you're looking at 2021 because it could be a little bit different here this year. My top 5 reasons why I'm still buying into Ezekiel Elliott, number 1, has to be the return of Dak Prescott. The boxes will not be stacked against Dallas this year. You can't. You got CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, so many weapons on the outside. All 3 of those guys could arguably be a number 1 wide receiver for any other NFL team. They're Dallas's number 2 and number 3. I mean, there are some great options for Dak Prescott. That's going to pull the defense out of the box. Number 2, what about his offensive lineman coming back? That's going to make a huge difference, right? We've talked about it for years. It always seems like when you talk about offensive line, everybody wants to bring up the Cowboys, which is understandable. But if they're not healthy, does it really matter? Does it count? They need more depth there, but with those guys coming back, that's going to help. I just mentioned scoring opportunities. That plays a big part. We want touchdowns. I really believe that Dak Prescott gives the Dallas Cowboys a better opportunity at scoring more points than the likes of an Andy Dalton, Ben DiNucci, or whoever else you want to say played quarterback for them last year. More scoring opportunities, more potential goal line carries, more Ezekiel Elliott points. What about the pass catching work? We talked about Tony Pollard for a second earlier, but do you realize that Zeke has had 71 targets in back-to-back years? Yes, even with head coach McCarthy last year, he still saw 71 targets. We do know that at times they will script in screen passes to Ezekiel Elliott that are super, super efficient in the Dallas offense, where he can pick up big chunks of yardage, take it to the house, and help your fantasy football team once again from a pass-catching perspective. And what about this one? And I guess I could have put this one up there for Saquon Barkley as well. What about less risk, right? For the past few years, he's been a top 3, top 4 pick. He may not be this year. Do you realize I was looking a little bit earlier, and in some mock drafts, Ezekiel Elliott is falling to the 2nd round. That makes absolutely no sense to me. You got a running back who's going to touch the ball over 300 total times with proven production in the past. He gets his offense back with Dak Prescott. We could see another ceiling year for Ezekiel Elliott, and if I can get him in the second round, y'all better watch out because I am going to dominate your fantasy football leagues if I am in them. But yeah, Zeke Elliott, relax a little bit, calm it down, take a sip, take a chill pill, relax. He's going to be just fine this year with the return of his offensive lineman and Dak Prescott, but there's a lot of other players out there that people have worries about, deservedly so. Remember, the offseason is all about identifying that perfect price, right? Because everybody's got it. Everybody is worth drafting, except Devin Funchess. So yeah, you just got to make sure you pay that right price because that's how you build an overall great team in fantasy football. We're going to be having these types of videos all year long. No, not all of them are going to be me outside sweating my balls off, but they're going to be there, right? We're going to have content 3 to 5 days a week here in the off season, and we'll ramp it up if we have to. If you're looking for more things, NFL draft related, you really want to understand some of these incoming rookies a lot better, Headliner U is where you need to go. That's our new channel. It focuses on college football. So if you're looking for it, you want to see something about these incoming rookies, some scouting reports, that's where you need to go. There'll be a link down below in the description. But hopefully you enjoyed today's show. We're on location. And like I said, hey, I didn't get hit with a golf ball. So, right, plus to that, hopefully you guys are having a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you later.